expecting to take a map off uTherma, so excited to see kind of what uTherma has planned for this TVZ as the barracks are going to come down across the map. Blue Terran in the top left-hand side of Team Liquid is uThermal, and again, SCV is heading to the bottom side.
His opponent, the world champion of StarCraft. He won basically everything last year, still looking very strong. We have none other than Serral.
Our reigning HomeStoryCup champion.
He won HomeStoryCup, more importantly than this.
He did?
Yeah. Being a world champion is nice and all, but what about HomeStoryCup?
Yeah. Serral with the...
This is a big deal, he did see it.
Yeah,
that
really
Overlord did get, did get the look.
Yeah, really big scout here for Serral, as he is going to now know exactly what's going on early. So uThermal, it is only 2 barracks. That's always important to take note of because 3 racks is a lot more committed, a lot more all-in. The 2 racks means you have gas behind it fairly quickly, and there's a lot of potential of that gas. In fact, this gas is actually really fast to the point where, is this even Marines? Like, is this Reapers?
I think it must be Reapers, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, he doesn't have enough gas right now to start up the second Reaper immediately, right? Is he gonna?
Yeah,
no, I think he will.
This is something I actually saw. Oh my god, a 3rd rack. So he's going to.
He doesn't need the second gas. Okay, there it is. I was gonna say, if he doesn't get the second gas, he's not gonna be able to continuously produce Reapers.
So, this is actually something I saw one of the Terrans doing the other day. I'm trying to remember here. I think it was maybe Cure.
I love this.
And it's like, it's just so not quite what you expect, right? Because Serral has no scouting on the gas, remember. So he has no information that there's gas mining. He hasn't necessarily seen Marines. So this is kind of tough. I mean, drones being pulled, he's expecting a bunker. It's not going to come down, it's Reapers.
Yeah, you could still try and plant it down just to be cheeky. Ideally, though, you get yourself as many of those queens as possible, maybe even Zerking speed. Serral, though, purposely not getting any gas here. The thing is, obviously, this Reaper count is going to climb, right? Now he knows, but he already decided not to go for any gas, and 1 drone hurts quite a bit.
Yeah, first drone already going down. SCV pulls away as the Lings come out. Now, the Reapers can really fight against these Zerglings a lot more easily than, say, a couple of Marines would be able to. So this is actually not so bad. Spinecrawler will continue to build as the Reapers, again, in action, pulling away. It's a lot of Lings, though. Obviously, Serral knowing this is coming has made it pretty much only Zerglings since finding out.
Yeah. Is there an orbital command in the main of Terran? No, he does not. So this is like a very aggressive push, right? He needs to get damage done with this.
Yeah, he really does, obviously. I mean...
Oh, that tumor is critical, actually. Oh, he does get the kill. That's huge. That's going to make these queens way less maneuverable.
Gets another one going, but I don't think uThermal's going to poke far enough forwards to figure out that he can pick up that kill. Maybe now, yeah. That'd be nice.
That would be huge. He does not manage to get the snipe there. But these queens, they actually do take damage. Obviously, keep in mind, these Reapers do heal out of combat. There we go, getting the kill on one of them.
Lost the bunk on the low ground. The Lings were able to fight that when the Reapers were busy in the main base here, but I kind of like it, right? I mean, the Reapers are still dealing damage. There's still a way to go with this, but it feels like there's potential at the moment. However, Link speed's on the way, and that's going to be a huge timer because that's going to make things so much more difficult for uThermal. Another queen, though.
Yeah, this is very, very painful. And on the back of this, I mean, uThermal is going to be able to macro up as well if he really wants to. I don't think he's really quite done enough damage yet, though. Killing a couple queens is nice, but ideally you do kill a couple of those drones as well. As soon as he leaves, that worker count is going to increase very, very rapidly. But so far, he's trying to just simply soften up the queens, then bring the weakened Reapers to the back, and then wait for them to heal up and then come back in again for more.
So he only lost 1 Reaper so far. It's very good control. It's more queens. I mean, the more the queens that you lose here, it's just so painful. Link speed's about to kick in, but there's so many Reapers that it can be difficult to do anything with that Link speed even. Oh my god.
Yeah, I feel like there's more Reapers than Zerglings.
Yeah, right? It feels like, I mean, what are these Lings going to do? If Grenade's well placed as well. uThermal was someone who played so much Free Rax Reaper as well when it was meta too, so he is absolutely one of the best at controlling these Reapers in Europe.
All right, he's going to continuously do this. And obviously, ooh, getting this around would be huge. Now keep in mind, these grenades, they do throw all of the units all over the place. Poking them, some of them actually to the low ground, but so many still remain. Wow. Oh, wow.
Super low HP as well. And Serral's now starting to be in trouble, right? This queen is chasing, but if the Reapers just heal for a moment or two, and then that queen goes down, it's over. uThermal picking up a game number 1 with the Reapers.
Mark with the cheeky victory. One of the best macro players decides to go for the proxy 3 Rex.
And the bar loves it, apparently, by the way. I don't think I've ever heard anyone cheering when Serral's lost. Have you?
It's a very efficient way to win, right? The German efficiency kicking in. They're like, yes, 5 minutes. Perfect.
It's like, good control. 1 Reaper lost, we can accept it. GG.
Near flawless game right there, though, by the Terran. It's one of those things. He scouted it perfectly. He probably assumed that it was going to be a Marine push. I mean, that explains the drones as well and the lack of Zerking speed initially. And then he had to start up Zerking speed later. It's a bit of a gamble. If you have Link speed done earlier, obviously you can push it away before you get critical mass of Reapers, but yeah, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, so we're going to be jumping into a game number 2 in a moment. Do we have map fears for this one?
We do, yeah. Do you think he's tilting, by the way? He's not looking all too happy.
Serral?
Yeah, he just lost 2-0, now 1-0 behind.
I feel like he always looks like that when he loses, though.
That's true.
Like, he's like, man, don't know how to fix it.
So the next map is Kairos Junction.
I like it for TVZ, it's fun. More aggressive. It's actually a really good map for uTherma, I think, with the kind of aggressive styles he likes to play. You know, get himself into nice forward aggressive positions, push, push, push again. It's kind of, it really lends itself to uTherma if he wants to be attacking and macroing as much as he can, multitasking, because that's exactly what he excels at in StarCraft. A lot of his victories come off the back of that micro play with, you know, solid macro behind it, but it's the micro and the multitasking that's really impressive a lot of the time. Hence why he likes to throw in these cheeky all-ins, because he can really use his micro there to get himself wins like the one he just got in game number 1.
Looks like he's angered the finisher. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. He's like, you know what? It's not gonna happen again. I'm gonna get this guy.
All right. Well, in the top left-hand side, our Red Zerg player down 1-0. Let's hear it for Serral.
His opponent from the greatest country in the world, although I might be slightly biased, we have uTherma.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna correct me?
Yeah, I'm not gonna correct you.
See, I hear a couple of people cheering in the background.
I mean, I have no justification for England, so... Like, we're in Ireland, yay. It rains, yay. It's never warm.
I mean, you guys catch a lot of the rain for the Netherlands, though, so we got that going. Thank you.
No worries, mate.
I just wanted to thank you.
Anytime.
As the Dutch people, I want to thank the English people.
Taking one for the team. Rax in the base of uTherma, so obviously a change-up from what we saw in game number 1, of course. Moving away from any sort of super early aggression, so towards something of a fast expand, and we'll see what exactly comes down when. It's a fairly fast gas, right? I mean, 50 gas already mined, so it is gas before Rax, which definitely lends itself to a bit more of an aggressive option or two, faster starport and so on. And obviously that Reaper coming up nice and quickly with the factory very quick to follow.
So this is actually pretty important here for Serral, right? I mean, everyone looks at these groups and they think, okay, Serral is definitely going to be the one to absolutely smash the group and just to move on. So currently, it's weird. Like, if you look on Wikipedia right now, he's actually in the bottom position of the group.
Have you ever seen Serral in the bottom of anything?
That's weird, right?
Not for a long time. Like
now, he is, I think, arguably facing the strongest opponents in his group first.
Yeah.
So it's Stats. He just ended up losing 2-0 there against Stats. He's currently 1-0 behind against uTherma. Those are probably the 2 strongest opponents in that group. But still, it's weird to see him all the way at the bottom of the list.
It's tough as well, right? Because actually, if you go 0-2 already, they can actually have a massive impact on your performance. Because if he goes 0-2 and he can only finish 3rd in the group, for example, you go into the loser bracket rather than the winner bracket. And that's already a huge deal because that's a lot more games to play. You only have 1 life remaining. So that's actually a real issue for Serral if he goes 0-2 already. Like, we could be talking about Serral in the losers bracket by the end of today.
All right, well, all things considered, though, this is a very important match here for the Finnish Zerg. Obviously, some people look at this and like, oh my god, Serral doesn't have it anymore. It's like, no. He played well against Stats, but Stats obviously, you know, if not the best Protoss, one of the very best. Yeah. And yeah, games against 3 Rex Reapers, they happen, and he took a bit of a gamble, didn't get Zergling speed going as quickly as he probably should have, and then...
It's a tough read, right? Like, how do you...
Yeah, you don't. Unless you send a drone scout, you just
I think you have to keep the Overlord almost, like, perfectly overhead to see the Marine not spawning, right? Because the Reaper builds longer than a Marine. But obviously he wanted to hide the Overlord, and he thought he'd already seen what was to be seen, so... It's one of those things that maybe, if this becomes more popular, you have to kind of adjust how you scout as the Zerg, so...
Yeah, maybe you can also take into account like the positioning of the barracks, but it's a little trickier. Obviously, Reapers are much faster, so you kind of want them to reinforce quicker. Ooh, nice snipe there actually by the Queen, though. That's really important.
Yeah.
Getting the 3rd base up. Also
SCVs.
killing SCVs on the other side of the map.
Yeah, this went pretty wrong very quickly for uTherma because he is really hoping to block that hatchery and then get the Hellions there, and that could have really delayed things. And obviously, losing SCVs at home is not what he wanted to have happen there. As he goes into a Cloak Banshee, so obviously this is as different as it could be from that game number 1. From the proxy barracks to now very focused on factory and starport units. uTherma definitely is a player who will not just play bio, but will throw in those mech styles as well. And with the Banshee opening, that's definitely a possibility as Hellions getting caught. Nice little surround by Serral. And that's kind of the Serral we know, just jumping on units, jumping at every opportunity to take a slight lead.
Yeah, sometimes people ask, like, hey, what does this What do the top players do differently than, say, like the top 10 players in the world? It's like, well, really, it's not that much. They just play everything a tiny little bit better.
Yeah.
Getting a Hellion there doesn't seem like a lot, but it makes committing to a mineral line so much harder, right? Like if he wants to go, for example, for like a Hellbat push from here, it's just going to be that much weaker.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like every little unit you lose, it really has that kind of cascading effect as second Banshee starts up. So Banshees really are going to come into play soon. It's a good amount of Hellions, and he's still building more, which really suggests the potential of mech, right? Because the more Hellions you build, the later your barracks would be if you want to play bio. And obviously, the later your racks are, the more trouble you're going to have kind of continuing on in the game as the Banshee joins up with the Hellions, but not really much to be done. There's no armory, right? So there's no Hellbats morphing in. It's just going to be pure Hellions. So just looking to brute force it maybe, if anything. And yeah, waiting to see just confirmation of how uTherma's going to play this mid-game.
Okay, he needs to get some sort of damage done, right? Because he definitely committed into a lot of these Hellions. Getting a couple of drones is nice. Keep in mind, though, he lost like 4 SCVs at home as well. This is not that many defensive units, and actually, Serral's feeling confident. He's droning behind this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't care. It's okay.
I mean, he has plenty of queens, right? So it works out for him, and he gets that drone count rolling. There's the 2 extra factories from uTherma. So confirmation, we are going to be seeing a mech style here from him in this game number 2. Again, he generally tends to play that kind of battle mech of like Cyclone Hellion, very aggressive, moving around the map, and because uTherma's so good at multitasking, what you'll see from him if he gets the opportunity is splitting away just a few Cyclones here and there to try and snipe bases. Hellion run-bys are going to be non-stop, and it becomes very frustrating for the Zerg to deal with.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see that only 1 armory coming up, and it's just simply the playstyle that uTherma prefers, to be really active out on the map. He's not really a player who likes to sit back and just simply macro out that really strong Terran Death Ball. And it looks like Serral knows about it as well. He had an Overseer inside of the main of the Terran here just a second ago, so he puts down the Roach Warren as well. And the second Evolution Chamber is coming up now too.
Banshee production continued as well, so... Yeah,
it's actually only 1.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about that in Banshees, right? Because as Serral, the last thing you want is to have some roaches on the map, and the next thing you know, you're just losing every roach because Banshees are going crazy. No roaches up just yet, as these Hellions are still poking for that third base, looking for some damage. Banes and Queens combined should be enough to kind of keep the Hellions pushed back. And that's all you really need. You just want to keep them away from the mineral line. You don't want to necessarily guarantee kills, although picks up 2 right there. The most important thing is just stopping the drones from being killed. As this could be a snipe on the 4th base, though. Banshees show up in numbers.
The worker count of the Terran here is super low.
Yeah.
It's only 44 SCVs, and a mule right there gets picked up. That's a lot of resources lost as well. It's like, yeah, the cancel on the 4th is nice.
Ooh, not even a
or to kill you.
Yeah.
But does that really justify being like 20 workers behind at this point in the game? He needs to be very careful that he doesn't lose here just because Zerg has way more just stuff. It doesn't really matter so much at that point what Serral has, as long as he's got the numbers.
Serral's sloppy, though. I mean, these are late pullaways on the Queen, for example, and loses that when he didn't really need to. Now their Spore's not going to be in location to save the Extractor, and I mean, this is a lot of losses for Serral, so while uTherma's worker count is down, he is getting stuff done elsewhere on the map at least, which is kind of necessary because, again, this wasn't necessarily a pretty start, right? He lost a lot of SCVs that he maybe shouldn't have done. Now he's finding some drones just on this corner. uTherma finding all of these entry points, and he's also hitting with Hellbats and Cyclones on the 3rd base, so here we go. A few Hellbats leading the charge to deal with those Banelings. Good split from uTherma, and, well, 1 Banshee is already picking its way through some Ravagers.
I think eventually, though, these Ravagers should be enough, right? There's quite a few of them. Zerglings and Roaches are spawning as well. That 1 Banshee picking up kill after kill after kill, trying to micro it away from that Spore Crawler. But yeah, the 3rd is certainly got to be safe, and Serral will hold on.
No Magfield Accelerator for that means that just kind of like dealing damage to the Roaches, etc. is a lot slower. So now obviously things are a little bit better for uTherma when he fights in the future. I mean, now he's catching up on workers, right? Serral has been kept at 63-ish workers. And so uTherma on 60, now things look a bit better. You got to remember, Serral's army is like, got a few roaches in, so army supply is a bit inflated.
I do feel like, though, playing Serral in this kind of game is tough, right? This is kind of his comfort zone. It's like, yeah, he took a little bit of damage, but he's one of the strongest, I would say, like mid to late game players in the world.
Yeah.
Beating him at his own game is really tricky. I mean, I'm not surprised, of course, that uTherma managed to pick up a game right there by playing just a bit of a cheeky build. Going up in a straight-up macro match, though, winning this one would be really big as well for uTherma.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, this would be impressive, I think, right?
Yeah.
Down Serral in the longer game. I think it always is because he's just so good in these long games. And even when he's behind, the magic of Serral last year was even when he was behind, he would find a way to win because he was so good at just finding those opportunities, figuring out what he could do.
Oh, well.
All of
Here's that hit squad you were talking about earlier, though. He's trying to lock onto the hatchery. Obviously, they can lock on at pretty short distance, and then they can run away, and there we have it. It's a pretty expensive commitment, but the fourth does fall. Do you think that's worth it, though? That's like, what, 6
lot of
cyclones?
Yeah.
That's like 1,000 resources.
Yeah, I really feel like that was... It's tough, right? Because if he feels he can survive, then the idea is he's going to out-economy Serral, right? So the efficiency doesn't matter, but I am worried that uTherma doesn't survive the next 2 or 3 minutes because his army supply is a lot lower than it should be.
And he's likely just going to double expand from here. That's one of the things some of the top level Zerg players like to do at this point. It's like, hey, I lose one base, I'll just go ahead and throw up like 2 or 3 at a time, see how that goes.
Well, this was kind of what kind of Hellion Cyclone really was for a long time as well, just like mass expansions. And, you know, there was a time as well where players would go up to like 90 to 100 workers. It doesn't really work on Kairos Junction. It's not large enough of a map. But when we had like Parasite in the map pool, having like 7 bases and 100 workers was the way to play because you literally just traded out Hellion Cyclone all day long, and the Zerg just couldn't kill it fast enough.
I remember I commentated a game actually off uTherma where he lost
the
like...
crazy one versus Solar.
Yeah, he lost so many. I don't know how much
crazy
it was
game.
anymore.
It was like 40 minutes, and yeah, that was insane. I remember.
Mine had the whole map, and everything was spent on Cyclones.
Yeah. Man. Well, right now, uTherma is kind of just cruising with these Banshees. Going to get turned away by Queens, losing one of them. Still is making Banshees, by the way, so still 1 or 2 of those coming up every now and then. So keeping those numbers up, and you can see why. I mean, he's found some good opportunities with them already, so as he presses forwards here, the army from Serral is in the center. Some Infestors being mixed in. Fungal Growth will land on the first. Now some Battles as he's just trying to get away from them more than anything else. Yeah, those Fungals are dangerous. I'm surprised that the first Fungal came down. I think he was afraid of the Banshees getting kills on the Infestors, which is now starting to happen. The Infestors getting low. Serral again pushes to the center, and uTherma is just backing away, letting those Banshees deal some hits here and some hits there.
All right, now he is at Hive, so he could start mixing in, for example, Vipers as well. He could go for the Greater Spire. Lots of good options here. Honestly, though, going for Infestors is a great idea as well. Obviously, you can burrow them as well if you want to really keep them safe against those Banshees, but they won't be able to cast their Fungal Growth, and I think that's really what he's looking for, right? Getting one good Fungal. I mean, Cyclones are expensive units. They are not cheap, and you don't want to just lose them and throw them away like you can sometimes do with Hellions. So getting even like a little bit of a trade there with Fungal Growth is huge.
Yeah, the Cyclones, they're so good initially, and people were thinking, how do I ever fight this? And the answer actually is just to find ways to be able to kill the Cyclones. So Vipers abducting, or the Fungal Growth to lock them in place so the Roaches, the Ravagers, the Banes can connect. It's definitely the way to go. Bad things is the Infestors, though, being kept in the back, and uTherma staying well out of reach, so keeping his Cyclones very safe, and that's exactly what he wants to be doing here. As he continues to expand up the right side of the map, he's getting himself a good amount of bases to work with as well. That Fungal just catches one single Cyclone, that's playable for uTherma as he continues to back away yet again.
Good control so far, right? It's a slippery slope, though. One Fungal Growth can end this real quick.
Yeah, it's a real dangerous style, and he actually gets up to the high ground here. uTherma doesn't have very far to run to, right? As the Banes are rolling forwards, I mean, where the Cyclone's meant to go, uTherma's in a lot of trouble here. Serral just found himself, he's actually just backed uTherma into a corner. Like, uTherma just hasn't kited well enough.
Exactly, he kited as far as he could go, but now all of a sudden he's back up with his back against the wall. Still, though, it looks like there's enough terrain here to push the Zerg back. A couple of the Queens are now also joining in. The creep is getting awfully close over here. More and more Zergling reinforcements making their way across. Still no Greater Spire, though.
I think he finished the Greater Spire, actually.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah, he does. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a big deal.
Yeah, now he's got Corruptors on the way up as well, right? And uTherma's not really set to deal with Broodlords. So in the very near future, uTherma's going to be in a lot of trouble. And again, Serral's pushed him into a corner, which means he has his own side of the map very comfortably as well. There is creep everywhere. I don't know what uTherma really does to start working his way back into this. This Orbital's going to be forced to lift, for example. Actually, surprised that wasn't a plan, considering how many CCs we've seen.
Yeah.
Very overconfident almost from uTherma to orbital up that base.
Well, let's see where this one goes. I think indeed the Broodlords are going to be like the final tier, right? The final tier for the Zerg here. What he's really looking to do is just simply finish up this game and push the Terran player back. If Cyclones and Hellions can't micro and they can't kite, it's very difficult to play them effectively. Thors are now going to be the option. I actually found Thors to be really, really strong.
Yeah.
If you manage to get enough of them, especially with their high impact mode, they can clean up a lot of these units super easily. But look at the amount of Queens.
The only issue with the Thors is that getting in range of the Broods can be almost problematic because all the Brutes need to do is like be in range for a moment and like send that Broodling wave off, and suddenly, you know, a 4 just dies. And yeah, maybe you lose a Broodlord, but then if you're losing 4s at the same time, you're not really gaining anything, right? Like, yeah, you're trading out, but Berserk can eventually just again break through, I think. So it's a bit of a tough one as uThermal still trying to use the mobility of his army to come around the top side.
He's only got +2 armor, actually. uThermal, that is.
Yeah, it's pretty typical to go armor with this star, right? Because you're mostly relying on the Cyclone lock-on damage, which isn't affected by attacks.
But he hasn't gotten himself +3 yet. That's a big deal.
Right, he has still just stopped on armor upgrades, right? And he's, again, very static with those, so definitely not great. He is adding Ravens in, by the way. I wonder if they can somehow create some magic, because this push looks scary, but uThermal is going to be maxed out to deal with it.
Yeah, you're right. Here we go. The March of the Queens has begun. They're not very fast. They're about as quick as Broodlords, apparently.
Yeah, he's actually going to get a couple lock-ons onto Broodlords. That's really good for him, because that is damage, and he is able to force some transfusions out, man. Them transfusions are insane, just consistently coming down. A Raven goes down to the side. That's obviously not intentional. That's 200 gas just down the drain. Didn't cast anything at all as uThermal backing away into his natural expansion. I think there's just too much on the ground to support those Broodlords, and so the 4s aren't able to get in range. Cyclone's zoned out to the top side by Broodlings as well, and Serral is pushing his way through.
Very, very calm and collected, though. Not trying to overextend with his Roach Ravager Baneling Bull. He wants to try to zone as much as possible, and I think this is exactly what you were talking about earlier. Right now, these Thors are going to be fighting the little Broodlings on the ground, and that is a little bit too much. Serral brings it back. That's 1-1.
Yeah, Serral playing a solid game, I think, right? I mean, it looked, there was moments that looked good for uThermal, but overall, Serral seemed to have the answer. He was always in position. He very rarely seemed to be getting caught off guard at all. So overall, I think very well played by Serral. Had a very good idea as to what he wanted to do, what he was achieving, and I think just good transitions, right? You know, he had Infestors up at the right time before the Cyclones got out of hand, and then he had Broodlords up, so he was forcing uThermal to transition before uThermal could trade for long enough on Cyclone Hellion.
It's kind of like his comfort zone, right? Like, yes, he's being pushed back all the time, but that's also the kind of game he's played it 1,000 times, right? He knows exactly how to respond to that. I know a lot of the other Zerg players like to go for Viper-based responses to that. So you go like heavy Hydra Viper or Roach Ravager Viper.
And you just abduct the Cyclones
all
the time.
Exactly. Do you think that's like one of those things as well that maybe he hasn't seen too much, where someone responds with Infestors than into Brutes?
I feel like the Infestor style is maybe more popular now. Almost now that's been like played out a lot. It's tough to say. I think uThermal was, you know, when you talked about those 6 Cyclones for that base, I felt that was almost the beginning of the end, because
it's expensive.
It's so expensive, right? And I understand the idea of trying to out economy him, but it's not really a map where you can take too many bases, and he didn't ever really get too many SCVs to be able to do that, right? So it made things very, very complicated.
Yeah.
So
like you kill the hatchery, you lose about 1,000 resources worth, and you kill, say, you know, 300 minerals for the hatchery and 50 minerals for the drone. But the drones were still alive, right? So yeah, there was some lost mining time for a while as well. You got to take that into the equation, but it doesn't really achieve that much in the grand scheme of things, because the hatchery gets replanted and you're still facing a maxed out Zerg.
It'd be different if something was going on the other side of the map at the same time, right? And the Cyclones create the opportunity as well as killing a base, which is kind of what I came to expect from uThermal in these situations. But again, it just felt like the numbers were never really there. So a little bit of a tough one. I mean, but the Banshees, for example, at the start of the game did so much for uThermal, right? They traded very well. They found a bunch of queens. And when I was watching those Banshees, it really felt like there was a lot of possibility for uThermal. Anyways, game number 3, we're tied up 1-1. Let's see who will take this series down. It's to the bottom right-hand side, our red Zerg player from ENT Esports. It's Serral.
And his opponent, with the blue SCVs in the opposite corner, he is known as uThermal. Playing for Team Liquid, of course. Gotta say, a lot more cheers here for uThermal.
There's just a uThermal crowd in the house tonight.
It's probably all the Dutchies. We're close to the Dutch border, right? So, I mean...
Okay. Biased audience.
I don't think a whole lot of Finnish people
just wait until Aces RG, man. Serral's going to have the crowd going wild.
That makes sense.
All right, well, game 3 here then, and Cyber Forest for the map, I feel like doesn't play like the same as Kairos, but the same sort of things stand, where it isn't a map with endless bases, right? You can't just expand. So I'm intrigued to see what uThermal's approach is, because I almost feel it's more difficult to hit bases with Cyclone run-bys on this map than it is on Kairos. And so what does he do? Does he play mech at all? If he does play mech, is it the same style? What does he edit in that regard? Because I imagine Serral, if he goes up against Mech, is going to play a very similar player style in response.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not sure about him playing Mech again. I always feel like uTherma is one of those players as well who's really, really good at playing bio. And this map is pretty good for it as well in general, just because of some really solid siege tank timing pushes that you can execute.
Yeah.
Putting the siege tanks on the high grounds and stuff and shell away at the 4th base. If you can force the 3rd to be taken on the left, which maybe is what he's trying to achieve right now, with the, yeah, exactly like Mapu's pointing out, but the SCV, that would be huge. If you can prevent this drone from building a drone over at the 3rd.
Yeah. That'd be really nice. It's something that we've seen more and more in TVZ, using that first SCV to almost dictate where the hatchery goes, because Zergs are trying to take the 3rd hatch real early in the game. You can see that SCV is waiting, but he kind of lets it slip with the Reaper's on his way. It's not going to be fast enough, and I think that drone turns around. So the drone turns around. There's another drone going to the left side. Again, uTherma, nice drone kill. He's not so much looking to kind of, necessarily block the hatch, just change where it gets put down. So he'll be happy with this. It's gone exactly the way he wanted to, and again, that's now a much more usable position for him.
Yep. I think that's the main reason right there, to have that that early game SCV. Yeah, you get to scout whether or not it's going to be a pool first. Is Serral already going to do that? Not very likely. So it's going to be a 2-on-1 follow-up right here. So that's 2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. That's a 16 marine drop. This is what we scouted immediately here by Serral, although he might lose his overlord here in the process.
Doesn't actually go far enough for us to see what's on the factory. But did he see the 2 marines probably?
I don't think so. Not he, well, maybe he saw it. Oh, okay,
yeah,
he did.
I think he saw the 2 marines, and that's already information that the barracks is on it. So, and then of course you don't want to send the overlord too far forward, because the marines are going to come kill the overlord. So
for those of you unfamiliar, this is a 60 marine drop that hits at about 5 minutes with Stimpack, and then obviously 60 marines as well as 2 medevacs. It's a very strong opener that was really popular, especially a couple of years ago. Right now, it's kind of fallen out of fashion a little. Yeah. Pretty much everyone prefers going the 1-1-1, so 1 barracks, 1 starport, 1 factory. But this is certainly still an opener that's strong. It never got nerfed. It's just that everyone got really good at dealing.
People just figured it out, right? And so you weren't able to do as much with it. I feel like in the hands of uTherma, Roach Run.
Yeah, I was going to say, so usually the reason why this build was not that popular anymore is because of the quick double evolution chamber follow-up. So Zerg players figured out, hey, I don't need a lair. I'm just going to go ahead and go straight up into a double evolution chamber, because I mean, I don't need that many defenses against the 16 Marines. I'm going to be just fine. So I can afford myself to go for the double upgrades first. I feel like going Roaches and going for a Roach timing attack into Stimp Marines is not a great situation to be in. If he wants to go for a Roach push, it usually hits right around the 5-minute mark, which is also when Stimpack finishes. So if that's the case, he's in a lot of trouble.
Very interesting way of dealing with this from Serral. Is he's still building drones as well, so he's not going to go all out on Roach production. But yeah, it's just very different to kind of what you would expect as, dealing with this. Lings and Queens, a Carapace upgrade. Do just fine. There's the lair on the way up now. The medevac's about to pop. uTherma will be heading down to the bottom right-hand side of the map in the next few moments with these Marines. So, yeah, this is it.
This is actually kind of curious, though, right? So you can, generally speaking, defend this really quite smoothly. There's one extra Marine that didn't make the cut, apparently. But you can usually defend this quite easily by going for Zerglings and then the quick upgrades. Instead, he decides to go for the Roachborn and then the Lair. A couple of defensive Roaches, definitely not an all-in. Maybe he wants to go for a counterattack after he holds it. I'm trying to figure out what his plan is.
The thing is, Serral now is, still making Lings and Roaches. So maybe, he throws down a Nidus and he just jumps in the main? That's very risky because Marine production continues and you can definitely kill a Nidus before it comes up. So there is a lot of space to the right side of the main, though. And Serral sees that, and maybe that's what's influencing the
I think you're right.
Overlord starting up. Yeah, I think that's kind of what makes the most sense to me right now, unless he literally just starts Roach speed.
This is one of those things as well that I don't think uTherma sees that often, right? And there we have it. No, it's an evolution chamber.
Yeah.
It looks the same, though.
No, it doesn't quite have the same effect. Yeah, just an Evo, but it even feels like the Evo is kind of late, right?
Yeah, it doesn't line up at all with Belial, but there we go.
SCV pull, wow. Wow, that's so sick. This could be really interesting because Roaches just aren't necessarily that good against
He has no idea about it either.
The SCVs are actually really cool because they tank so well against the Roaches, and this could be the effect that you need. Here we go, uTherma pushing forwards. Widowman gets taken down. He's going to try and get rid of as much as possible here. Link's coming in from the top side.
Wow.
Again picked off. Again, look how many Roaches are wasting time on the SCVs. Oh my god, 7 drones go down. uTherma will keep fighting. The Roach numbers are dropping, but so are the Marines, and Serral might just about be able to pick this up. As, oh my god, that medevac is so low with the Marines inside, but he is going to be able to hold this off. uTherma striking before combat shields. That was
I
maybe,
think
maybe hurting a bit.
I think he probably assumed that Serral was trying to hold on with the bare minimum. Just make like 7 roaches and then 4 queens and that's it. But he had a lot more Zerglings that I don't think he actually showed when the first Marines moved across the map, right? So that was a very expensive decision there for Serral. For uTherma rather, 19 STVs in total.
This is just sick because I feel like if you're I feel like a lot of Zergs who play roaches, right, make like those 10 roaches and they stop, and then I think they die to that.
Exactly.
But this was like he just kept making lings and roaches, which is why we're thinking about, oh, is this going to be like a Nidus or something? But no, it was just more units, and it was absolutely the way to go. As now SCVs are going to come across the map once again. You feel
great scout.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely fantastic scout. Tells you everything you need to know as Serral, and well, there's just absolutely no reason for him to stop unit production now. uTherma is absolutely all in, and this is pretty much it. This one push. It just doesn't feel like he has... I mean, now you look at that Roach Ravage army, it's ridiculous in comparison to the amount of Marines.
Yeah, with Roach Speed done, +1 done as well, it makes a big difference. Queens, and obviously a couple of Ravagers here. These Ravagers are going to be really useful for corrosive, piling down these siege tanks, and there they go. They're the main backbone of that Terran